So we'll begin as usual with prayer for teacher and student. By now you know this prayer, so you can join in. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditam Astu Ma Viddhishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May that one protect us both. May that one nourish us both. May we work together with great energy and vigor. May our study be illumined. May we not unnecessarily cavil with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So I selected the subject, Formula for Success, because many, many people would like to be successful. I think if you asked anybody, would you like more than anything else to be unsuccessful? You might get a reply that says, no, no, no. There's some inner drive within us all to move toward a state of perfection. Is there some kind of practical formula that we can use? Understanding that there's no real division between our working, waking life, our 24 hours, which is divided into sleep and activity. The activity is designated particular activity, meaning that if I want to construct a building, not everybody can be an architect, not everybody can be an interior decorator, not everybody can be a quantity surveyor. There are different functions for different people according to our different talents. What that means is that behind it all is a biblical statement that we are made in the image and likeness of what religion calls God. Now the term may be confusing because the word God can mean different things to different people. But by God, what we mean is that cosmic entity, that cosmic being that is responsible for rhythm and order within the universe. A kind of flow. We can call it grace, divine grace. And we often don't notice it. Right now you're listening to me. You're listening to a flow of words. And at your substation called the mind, there's a response. There's also a flow. It's called thought. A cosmic agitation that arrives at your substation, coming in waves. And you have the capability to take this and direct it in any way you like, any way you wish. It's called free will or free choice. You can direct it into something useful or maybe not. It's up to you. It's entirely up to you. So if we have some people saying that God is responsible for all our misery and all our success, then we have the wrong kind of God. The kind of immature caricature of what we mean by God. What we mean is that cosmic being whose presence causes peace, harmony, rhythm, and order within the universe so that galaxies don't unnecessarily crash into each other. So that the earth rotates at a certain pace, so that we get all the seasons tilted at a certain angle. And today, I think in Ireland was summer. Tomorrow may not be, I don't know. So causing all the vagaries within nature, it presents itself as a roughness sufficient for us to insert something of our own and control it. There was a great 13th century philosopher, theologian in Christianity, born in Sicily, supposedly, and called Thomas Aquinas, a great doctor of the Catholic Church. He was not only a philosopher and theologian, but he was also, all his ideas came from a certain flow. And that flow gave him a reputation of saintliness. so that he was reputed to do things that saintly people do. That is, going into a state where you're in a commanding situation of nature. Such things as levitation, curing others, such phenomena as that make people sit up and think this is something special. What is this specialness? He realized that we are all made in the image and likeness of this divine entity, this divine being, that is the cause of a flow of grace that seems to arrive at our substation called our individual personality, that we can do with it what we want, but the flow is always there, largely unnoticed by us and therefore unthanked. When we observe it properly, a feeling of appreciation comes up within us, and also a certain level of thankfulness comes. What is love? Well, we have human examples of it. If somebody gives us a present unconditionally, does something unasked in our favor, does it consistently and constantly, we think this person a nice person, friendly person. And we appreciate that person, and we learn to love that person. In a similar way, if somebody talks against us, attacks us, criticizes us, hates us, then we're not inclined to love that person. Supposing there is a cosmic being that doesn't demand anything from us, constantly supplies an endless gift, a gift of sight and sound, a gift of arranging the planet, tilted in such a way that we get seasons and food, arranges the cells of the body in such a way that they are immediately responsive and sentient, having a life of their own, gives us pocket money called thought for productive or useless thinking, digests our food without our asking, pumps our heart, and gives us all the resources around us for useful growth, for a purpose. In other words, to make a success out of our life, using our individual talents and abilities that we have. Gives us this free of charge. Yeah, my dear child, this is your role in life. I've given you certain talents, certain abilities. There's something you can do that nobody else on the planet can do with this combination of skills and talents. And you're headed toward a certain level of absolute freedom, given to you without any obligation. And furthermore, if you don't get the highest inward success in this life and achieve the goal of life that Swami Vivekananda succinctly puts as each soul is potentially divine, the goal is to manifest this from within, this divinity from within, giving us the opportunity to do it, unlimited opportunities to pass our life university exams, regardless of whether we succeed or fail. Another life, another second, another minute. Does it constantly. What a wonderful lover that is. So, noticing this, Thomas Aquinas has a key principle, biblically arranged, that we are born in the image and likeness of this cosmic entity, this giver, number one. Secondly, it expresses itself as a flow of grace everywhere, at every moment. And if we have a will to see it, then we can notice it everywhere, at every point of our observation, be it through the eyes or the ears or the nose, be it through sound or sight, or touch or taste or texture, or smell, or any of the avenues that the senses are employed in. So because of that, Thomas Aquinas feels that it doesn't matter what religion you are. The nature of humanity itself, because of this reflection of divinity within us, called being made in the image and likeness of that divine entity, divine being that gives us opportunity, that supplies a free flow of grace from itself, unasked, that is of the nature of love and goodness. That should reflect in us. And so he felt that everybody has a natural tendency in moral life for temperance, for fortitude, for wisdom, and for justice. You don't have to be a Christian to do it. You don't have to be a Muslim to do it. You don't have to be a member of any religious organization to do it. You don't have to necessarily be spiritual. You just have to be human. We look at humanity today and we see man's inhumanity to man, and we highlight that. But when you take humanity at large, you will see that people are good. Basically good. There are no bad people, only bad behaviors. That's what we'll notice. What do we mean by temperance? We mean that there is a capacity for us to control things. We see this exhibition in social order. We see this in the orderliness of our own households, the organization within cities. We see civic order. All of these kinds of things, no, I don't want that huge light because it shines in my eyes. Sorry. Yeah, that's fine. That's good level. Yeah. So what he means by temperance is that we have a capacity to control. We have a capacity to discipline. We have a capacity to order things well so that there is a certain rhythm in our life. Swami Vivekananda in his Raja Yoga compares this to the orderliness of electrons flowing in a certain direction. When the electrons flow in a certain direction, then that flow sets up a certain revealing factor within us. We all like rhythm, we all like orderliness. So that's the first thing he notices. Second thing, fortitude. These are sometimes unfamiliar words to us, but by fortitude means we have an element of resolve, an element of courage within us, an element of strength, determination. If you want to be successful, first of all, you have to have a determination toward it. 3 ingredients towards success. We can call it 3 Ds. We have to have a desire for what we want. We have to have a determination to get it. And then a dedication. The desire is sometimes as a response to a felt gap or a felt need. Regardless of how crude it is or sophisticated, still the desire is fulfilled because behind it is this grace that is called thought. When you think of something, you set up a drama, a movement. You set up a wave system. And you can compare it to the drama that is enacted by the sun. The oceans containing water are heated. Then the evaporated moisture forms clouds. Those clouds gather. They get more and more pressurized. And ultimately, non-salty water falls as rainfall. And we get a relief from the heat. And we also get the opportunity to make a drama whereby food grows from rainfall. Plants grow, plants are nourished. This drama is being enacted. Same thing with thought. Thought sets up a movement, and the universe takes it, as it were, and distributes it, sorts it out in sections. Different primordial elements that ultimately are so subtle, but they come to us in a gross form. And the ancient yogis knew how to maneuver these forces, how to command these forces, how to be a master of nature. Now, if you meditate, as it were, that is, if you take the energy of thought and take an object, one of the gross objects in the Sankhya system, don't forget, yoga philosophy, comes with the basis of Sankhya ideas, where there are 24 insentient categories and one sentient category called Purusha. And in the Sankhya system, in yoga system, there are many Purushas. They were generous enough to compile all the fragmented insentient things into one category called Prakriti, or nature. But they weren't generous enough to compile all the Purushas into one single Purusha. Vedanta does it. Their argument is like this: if there's only one sentient element called Purusha, then one of these getting enlightenment, we'll all get it. One of them being stupid, we'll all be stupid. But Vedanta says, no. That's a transcendent position. And when you get there, all of this Prakriti falls away. You cannot simultaneously think of the world or the body and the soul as separate things. When you think of the body, you don't think of the soul. When you think of the soul, you have no understanding of the body. And when you think of that transcendent being, both of these two fall away. So this is the 25 categories of the Sankhya's, and the yogis take up this categorization system. And if you now take 16 of them that comprise this gross world, there's 5 objects of perception, and the senses themselves are objects as well, plus the mind. These are 16 categories. If you meditate on any of these things, then you get control of this, because knowing something means controlling it. When you know something, you have control over it. And so you can control these elements. So far, spirituality has not entered into it. Only power has entered into it. And then you can also meditate on the subtle forces, the elements behind that, from which these gross elements, when they're combined, comes to us in gross form. You can take the subtle variety of it, which is called tanmatras. Meditate on that. You get mastery over that. Powers come to you as well. You control nature at a more subtle level. And then if you go even subtler, if you say that they're not objects, you go to the more subtle variety of them. And then you go to mind itself. You can meditate on the mind itself. Then you have a more subtle control of that, until finally you can meditate on that category, which is an overall nature, and you get control of that. But so far, the idea of success in spirituality hasn't arisen. There has to be a different meditation for that. You have to have a different registration for that. So these various methods are there. And there's a curious stanza or a curious sutra in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Tivra samveganam asanaha. Simple as that. You can translate it as success. Success in this endeavor of a transcendent, cognizant, and non-cognizant type of meditation, which produces a kind of transcendent feeling or experience. That's what we want. Something that is a non-cognitive experience called samadhi. If you want that, then you have to put some effort in it, some energy into it. What is the stanza that goes before it, or the sutra that goes before it? Well, it says, Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvakara. Like that, you see, to others, that is, those who don't want to master elements in nature and be reborn as deities or governing bodies. If you don't want that, then you can get this kind of superconscious state through employing what? Faith, Shraddha, Virya, energy, memory, Smriti, And then this pratnya comes to you, purvakaha itara sham. It comes through faith, energy, memory, concentration, and discrimination of the real. Now let's go back to Thomas Aquinas and see how this works together. Naturally, even without this special effort, without this faith, without this energy, and so on and so forth, we have this fortitude, we have this resolve, and we also have wisdom. At base, it doesn't look like that in humanity, but everybody has an inherent base where we can judge what is good, what is bad, what is a prudent course to go, if we want to apply it. It's called the intellect. That's inherent in us, born into us. Again, it's a reflection of this image and likeness of this divine entity, because this entity is the embodiment of consciousness that comes out as intellect, comes out as inner wisdom. And this is the strongest, most positive thing we know of, so we get fortitude. And there's an orderliness in it, so we have temperance. And then the last quality is justice. There is an inbuilt capacity to judge what is fair. Even a child has it. You have a child that says, that complains, you gave this to this other child, it's not fair. You hear this. Why? It's not fair. I don't think it's fair. This language is adopted by 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. And we carry that through in our adulthood. We have the sense of justice. So any atheist can legitimately say, we don't need any moral codes that come from religion. We have it inbuilt in us somehow. Don't ask where it comes from. Maybe it's a social conditioning, whatever it is. I'm a good person. What's the need for any God, any religion, anything that you call spirituality? What is the need for anything supernatural, anything along these lines? And Thomas Aquinas gives us this. You need something that comes from grace. You can tap into grace. You can elevate the human mind. You can refine it. It can be much more than these basic things inherently in you. And this comes from utilizing this flow of grace, and it comes out in 3 ways. It comes out as faith, it comes out as hope, it comes out as love. We shouldn't be surprised, because this divine being that creates all this order and harmony and so on is the very embodiment of these 3 things. What are his primary difficulties depending on our personality? Well, we have doubt. And this doubt can lead us to indecision. It can lead us to, there's the old saying, I used to be decisive, but now I'm not so sure. It can lead to a shakiness in our decision making, a sense of insecurity, and then we also can experience hopelessness. We can go into the depths of despair. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is suffering from this. Depression. From time to time, we can go into depression. We can feel overwhelmed by the world. And so, hope is required. Faith, trust is required. This is not blind faith. This is an unwavering conviction. In what? That all our resources are divinely supplied through grace. That we have hope for the future because there is positivity and joy, the opposite of depression. We can see how everything is well arranged, and we have an inner rapture within us from a sense of wonder, adoration, and thankfulness. And then finally, love. Not human love, but love which is a flow, unconditional, non-judgmental, continuously there. These are the characteristics of this divine harmonizing entity that we call God, and it's no surprise, therefore, that they arise in us when we tune into it, when we tune into a flow that we call grace. ever flowing. The wind of God's grace is ever flowing. We but have to set our sail, says Sri Ramakrishna. It's already there, but why we should tap into it? Like a radio broadcast, always there, even now where I sit. I don't have to go to a special place for it, or get it imported, or go online and make an order. It's already here. I just have to tune my attention into it. I have a tuning mechanism, but I require a resolve to do it. And that resolve comes from a faith, absolute unwavering conviction that all the resources are supplied well. How does this relate to success? Firstly, if we want a formula for success, we have to be absolutely confident that all the resources are supplied. We don't have to pray, may the sun rise tomorrow. We know it. We have confidence in it. We have faith in it. It's already there. We don't have to pray, may my heart beat tomorrow. We know it. We assume it will be so. We don't have to pray, have spent the whole day breathing. Now I've run out of breath. No, breathing will happen unconsciously. It's already there. The diaphragm is moving up and down. Don't worry about it. We don't have to wonder, when will my cells of my body be repaired? We have a loving giver who, when we sleep, digests our food nicely, repairs all our cells, and sorts out all our psychological problems, and wakes us up in the morning, giving us a fresh batch of pocket money called thought to spend for the rest of the day. Second by second, what a loving being, with no demanding for a salary, never going on strike. This is love. And it's not exclusively belonging to this divine entity, this divine being. Since we are made in the image and likeness, Thomas Aquinas says, these are things that we can employ. Of course, he's doing it in the Christian context. That's okay. So he's saying that everybody is intrinsically good with these various qualities because we are born and made in the image and likeness of this Creator God. And secondly, if we tune in an extra way to that divine grace flowing, then we are on the road to success. What do we mean by success? In all the avenues of our being, in all the departments of our humanity. In our domestic environment, in our financial environment, in our social environment, and in our spiritual environment. Now, there are many people, positive thinking people, who are dedicated to the subject of success. Think positively. You have to think positively. That's all right. That's fine on paper. It's fine as a command or an exhortation. But how do I think positively when everywhere around me seems to drag me down? Then you have to have a new way of looking at things. You have to divinize everything. You have to see that people and places and events are simply fragmented expressions of this one divinity, not separate from it. And knowing that this being is trustworthy. You know, Jesus has that phrase. If you ask your father for a piece of bread, he won't give you a stone where you can smash your teeth on it as a cruel joke on you. He'll give you the bread. Ask and you'll receive. Seek and you'll find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. So anybody, theist or otherwise, should have a faith, a complete faith, that everything is arranged nicely. The oft-quoted Julian of knowledge, all will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. That kind of positivity that has absolute faith that the sun will shine, that the earth knows what it's doing, that there's a basic goodness in humanity, that there's a driving force behind everything, that is perfection, that will unfold. And that unfoldment, if you have this point of view, is called evolution. Evolution literally means unfolding. Not getting something new, understanding that there's a totality there, that looks like something evolving in time, that looks as if it is fragmented in space. But with fresh eyes, we can understand, no, it only seems to be like that. And the closer you get to this reality, the more you'll understand it and see. The more you get toward a position of unity, the less the fragmentation will occur. That understanding has to be cultivated. It has to be cultivated through catching the wave, like a surfer on the ocean, catching the wave that expresses itself, that wave of grace, as faith and hope and love. Where do we get the hope from? The joyful bliss of spiritual life. When we catch that grace, where do we get the faith from? The security that we are being looked after unconditionally. Where do we get the love from? An appreciation of an ever-flowing love, because that being is lovable. We love in return. With these three characteristics that are universal in every religion and in every spiritual system of spirituality, we can be successful. And so with that in mind, the sutra ahead of the 21st sutra in the first section of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, 4 sections being there, first being on concentration or meditation. What should we do? We should cultivate faith. We should cultivate energy, memory, concentration, and then discrimination of the real. Swami Vivekananda makes this brief commentary, but all his commentaries are based on the older commentators. He says, these are they who do not want the position of cosmic entities, deities, and so on, controlling nature or sections of nature as a reward, or even of the rulers of cycles, because the whole of the universe is seen to go in cycles. And when this current cycle that we call universe goes into a state of potentiality, everything goes there and reemerges as a continuum on a massive scale, judged from human time. They attain freedom. They attain freedom. What is the ultimate success? To be free. Freedom is the goal. And so there it is. How do we do it? To be successful, this tivira samveganam asana, success is quick, is speedy for the extremely energetic. It's just a question of efficiency. It's an energy equation. The more you put in, the more you get out. The energy that you put in, the more intensive it is, the quicker the time frame. What is concentration? Concentration is a sense of the absence of time. You take a Beethoven, when he got absorbed in composition of music, he didn't know, when did I eat, when did I sleep? His whole room was a mess. Half-eaten food everywhere, food left outside his door, unconscious of anything else, so absorbed in his subject matter, have some magnificent obsession. If you want to be successful in secular life, take one object and make it your magnificent obsession, have a great desire for it, a great determination to get it, and a great dedication, dedicate your whole life to it, eat it, drink it, sleep it. In every area you can do it. But every area other than the pursuit of freedom will give you unhappiness, ultimately. It'll be a painful thing. What is freedom? To get out of that painful situation. As long as it is as a desire for an object, then you won't get satisfaction. You won't get the fullness that you're seeking, the ultimate success. And then what kind of energy will you put in? Well, the subsequent sutras tells us this, mirdu madhva. It goes like this: success of yogis differs according as the means they adopt are mild, medium, or intense. The commentators say 9 kinds of energetic efforts are there, 9 kinds of people are there, but broadly categorized in these 3 ways. See? Like food. How hot do you want your food? You want mild, medium, or strong? So you can start off in a mild way. You can promote it as your conviction increases and improves. And ultimately, it's your whole pursuit. And that acts as a catalyst to reduce the time frame. What is concentration? Yes, the absence of a sense of time. The more you concentrate, the more you shrink the amount of time required to achieve an objective. The less time that you require, it becomes a short circuit to it. That is why the whole of this subject of meditation and concentration encourages you to promote a condition from a scatteredness, scattered attention, to ekagra, one-pointedness. Some people come to me with asking, do I have some kind of formula for peace of mind? I'm under condition of tremendous stress. Thinking that I will give them a spiritual formula, I give them time management. They please be ordered in your time. Make sure that you have a list of your activities, a method for understanding what the priorities are in there, and producing a budget, because there's that phrase, time is money. You can say T-I-M-E, time is money exactly. And just as you budget for money, why don't you budget time? And in budgeting money, you'll always put a contingency there. So when you also order your time, because we're notoriously bad at estimating how long a thing will be, and there'll be interruptions here and there. In other words, a scatteredness of attention and activities. Instead of doing that, why don't you over budget? And then you cater for unexpected interruptions and this inherent tendency that we have to underestimate time. In doing that, we are realistic about our time. Everything is ordered and scheduled, planned out, equivalent to Sri Ramakrishna's formula in spiritual life. If you visit a new town or city, find your lodging first. Park your belongings there. And then you're free to go and enjoy the city as you want. So park your lodgings first. Attend to the most fundamental need that you have first, and that is to attend to the overall goal of life. I was discussing with somebody earlier on this morning, should we not have goals? Yes, certainly have goals. In fact, Swami Vivekananda postulates this one goal, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is his language. The goal is to manifest this divinity from within. That's your central goal, because that's your central nature. And you'll be in trouble as long as you are not arriving at this central goal. But don't attend to the goal all the time. Post it and leave it, because the rest will be concentration, a movement toward it. It's like if I take a journey, let us say to Limerick from Dublin, you'll see the old thing if you have in your car some children who easily get bored. It's a monotonous journey, not attending to all the things around them. Then you'll have to point out, see the tree, see this, see that. And sometimes you play a game, I Spy, and you get people to say, oh, something beginning with S, all right, what is it? Is it the side? Is it this or that? No, it's the sky. Okay, next person, like that. Keep them occupied. Otherwise, every 5 minutes, they'll be nagging. Are we there? Are we there? Are we there yet? 5 minutes later, are we there yet? And we all do that if we are focused on goal, goal, goal. Post it and leave it. Then enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process. This is a much better formula. So, success of the yogis differs according to the means, whether they are mild or medium or intense. Now let us see what the early commentators will tell us about this. Let us go to that 20th sutra. Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvakaha, and then iteration. 4 others, that is iteration, is preceded. What is in the formula necessary? Faith, energy, memory, samadhi, and discernment. And Vyasa makes this commentary. It says, it is brought about by the means of achievement for the yogis. Faith, what is faith? Faith is the pleasing, wishful contact of the mind with the object of pursuit. It's a curious definition. The object of pursuit, whatever it is, has to be pursued with a certain pleasant frame of mind that is determined, something that has within it a resolve, a trust, that all the resources are supplied and the movement toward it will be also successful. It sustains the yogi, is a curious concept, like a mother. It nurtures us. Faith is a nurturing thing. Just as we feel secure, or a child feels secure, when it is held by a loving mother, that security we need to have. Even to the extent of thinking that this divine element is always looking after us, but more than that, is holding us in loving arms and sustaining us, nurturing us. That's true faith. And then energy. Energy is born in that person who pursues knowledge with faith. Having got a resolve, having got a motive, having got some enthusiasm, the level of enthusiasm, the amount of energy will be commensurate with it. And don't think that the energy is yours. There's nothing that is yours. Don't think you have a body. Don't think you have a mind. It all belongs to this divine entity. And it is all operated through this flowing grace. There's nothing I have of my own. I have no rights, therefore, except the right to express this grace through work. You have the right to work. That's all the rights that are given you by Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita. And then what is memory? Memory comes to help when he is possessed of energy. On the appearance of memory, that is, constant repetition and remembrance of this, the mind ceases to be disturbed and passes into this samadhi. Repeated practice. And when the mind is entranced, then discrimination appears. Then we understand the reality for what it is exactly, by which it knows an object as it is, not as it appears to be. Though by constant practice, that is repetition thereof, and by desirelessness with reference to the object thereof, comes the ultra-cognitive trance that we call samadhi, that is, without any cognition. Now, 2 things are there, and it's mentioned several times. Practice, these are the 2 methods overall. Practice means constant repetition of the same theme, the same principle. And it's practice of what? Practice of discernment, discrimination, practice of clearly understanding the difference between what is permanent, what is impermanent. And in every context is there. Let's take the context of devotion, love of God. It's there because our attraction toward that as a source, as a loving, as the beloved, makes us less loving of the other things. Let us take the path of jnana. That is a deliberate path which sorts out at every given moment what is permanent and what is impermanent. And what is permanent is something like a flow of energetic grace flowing through all limbs, all fragments, appearing in everything, through everything, as everything, and beyond everything. A constant awareness of this. Let us take karma yoga. Yes, there's a discernment to say, I'll reject any movement, any activity that gives me anxiety, anything orientated toward the future or the past. I want to ask why? That's a past tense. Why not? What next? That should be the attitude. And instead of saying, what a pity, why don't I say, what a glory? And tune in to this present moment where a unit activity has to take place and join a sweetness, offering all your activities toward that beloved that we call God. There's a formula of karma yoga. And all done because of you want to attain purity of mind. Then in meditation, there is a discernment. There is no such thing as competitive meditation. As long as you're in a condition of stillness, as long as you're able to direct your attention in a preparatory way toward a certain canalized way of thinking, culminating in a suspension of the breath, where only one thought is there, that's called meditation. See, there's that practice is required. And then the other component is detachment, vairagya, equivalent to desirelessness. What is detachment according to Patanjali's definition? When there is no desire in the mind, what does it mean? When I feel that there is a felt gap in me, some kind of internal deficit that can be filled from the outside. This is called a desire. When all of that is gone, then this is called vairagya, detachment. But Vachaspati's gloss gives a commentary to explain Vyasa's point of view. He says, the author, namely Patanjali, describes a sequence of the means of the achievement of this samadhi by yogi by saying, for others it is preceded by faith, energy, memory, samadhi and discernment. But the devotees of the powers of sensation, action, and thought are also possessed of faith. Whatever you want has to have faith in it. Whether you are a theist or an atheist, or whether you just want secular success in business, you have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in the resources. You have to have faith that any problem that arises will have a corresponding solution. And for this reason, he says, faith, that is Vyasa, is the pleasing, wishful contact of the mind with the object of pursuit, and the object of the pleasing, wishful pursuit of the mind here is the ultra-cognitive variety of samadhi, as it comes into existence, with reference after the nature of this subjective world has been known. How is it known? It is known by the Veda. Veda means by that truth experienced by others, that is, by a credible authority. Secondly, by inference. Inference means if there's smoke on the horizon, then there's fire. You may not see the fire, but when you see the smoke, you know there's fire. This is a way of establishing what is the truth. And by the teaching of the masters, those credible authorities which are there, giving you the opportunity to experience it directly for yourself. There can be no wishful contact in the case of those who confused or confound, I should say, confound the powers of sensation and all that with the self. And then you see the confusion that we have has its origin in all-round forgetfulness, and that is where memory has to come in. A repeated remembrance of the goal. The power of sensation and all that cannot thus be objects of faith. We have still to get it. And so he explains why that alone is faith. It sustains the yogi like a kind mother, says the commentator, Vachaspati in this case. The meaning is that it does not let that person fall down in the wrong path, leading to the destruction of its object. So like that, in many ways. This faith that you have, this confidence in your resources, and then a patience that waits for green lights, as I call it. Waiting like a fish, a person waits patiently. He has his rod out and he watches the end of the rod to see, will the hook catch the fish? And when the rod bounces a little bit, he knows. And at that moment, he strikes exactly and catches the fish. But look at the amount of patience he had to have to do that. In Zimbabwe, I had a friend who was very dedicated to fishing. He loved the contemplative thought of sitting there in nature. Whether you catch something or not, he wasn't bothered. But he knew there was water, and he knew in that water there were fish. And he knew that what was on the end of the line was alluring to the fish. And he knew that sooner or later, some fish would bite, and he would then be alert all the time, waiting just for that one moment and catch it. So we have to have the patience to see that this faith will be produced in life as a series of go, 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 green lights. Circumstances arranged in such a way that there's absolutely no doubt about the timing. And so I have to be an opportunist and see again all the grace appearing, because the Lord of the universe has a timing that is absolutely impeccable. I don't have to worry about it. And having noticed exactly that moment and responding exactly in that way, I have to apply effort, work, energy. This energy has to be there. That's contained in this sutra. I have to take all the resources, not thinking in a fatalistic way. My own effort is required. Now, that level of success is all very well. That will produce success in every field. But adding a dimension to it to say that it is a loving grace flowing toward me, it relieves me of tremendous anxiety, tremendous difficulty, gives me a sense of peacefulness. Knowing that things are on my side, knowing that I have a loving mother called nature that provides all these things and looks after me, and I don't have to worry. Registering my responsibility that I previously took as mine alone and saying it's not mine at all. It's up to the Lord of the universe. Like taking a phone call, oh Lord, it's for you. With that level of confidence, I become like a child, carefree, with no stress, no anxiety, knowing that I'll be looked after, knowing that if I go with the flow, things will always be right, things will work out well. My part being only little, other forces making the crooked paths straight for me. The wind of God's grace is ever blowing. We have but to set our sail. But we have to set the sail, of course. Work and energy has to be there. But no amount of blowing will make the boat move or will fill the sail. Even if you take up sailing and you raise up your sail, even outside the water, just on dry land, then the boat will want to move. There's such an irresistible force on the sail. And when you put it in the water, look how the wind fills the sail by itself. You don't have to blow it. We but have to set the sail. Our effort is minimal. Every step we make toward the divine corresponds to 1,000 steps toward us in the opposite direction, in our favor, assisting us, helping us, moving us along, making the divine a kind of divine helmsman that we can rely on fully and relax and surrender and let go. As soon as we let go, success takes place. But the letting go is difficult for many people. And that letting go, just exerting that amount of energy, all our energy is very small compared to universal energy that moves the galaxies and provides us with all the resources from the beginning of the universe or the universal cycle to the end of it. "21. Tivra samveganam asanaha." Success is near us, is proximate to us. For those whose consciousness of supremacy is keen, is this translation here. There are 9 descriptions of such yogis, says Vyasa, but their application to the means of achievements is mild or middling, medium, or intense. You know, come across people, how is your spiritual life? Oh, fine, I'm doing everything. Yes, that's just maintenance. Every day has to be an increase, a small intensification. And that is a feeling. Emotions have to be intensified much more. Instead of praying to God because it's your duty, because it has to be done, you know, in the ancient Roman world, they had a peculiar religion. They had a number of deities, as you know, and temples were dedicated to deities. And in their household, they would have a local deity and they would have rituals involved. But they were just abstract duties. They thought they would get the result just by doing the ritual. They didn't necessarily have to have feeling connected with it. And the difference is in the Roman, Greco-Roman environment where early Christianity was, for example. For the first time, it was a requirement in Christianity to put some feeling into it. It was completely contradictory to the religion of the day. And so you could have just a superficial ritualism that was just an obligatory duty passed on in a traditional way without understanding why, but thinking you'll get a result if you do the ritual. No doubt, thinking that something will happen, something will happen. But when you put feeling in, that's very different. In a competition between intellect and feeling, feeling will always win. And if you meditate or even say a mantra and don't put the feeling into it, then boredom will set in and sleep will set in. Dullness will set in. It is the feeling that gives this energy, this enthusiasm. So intensification through feeling has to be there. So this is the formula for success in every environment, bearing in mind that success is not just secular success. When you go to the root of it, overall success occurs. In the language of Jesus, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Other things will be added unto thee, because that's the root of it. When you add to the formula of faith in your resources, faith in yourself, along with it, patience, waiting for the green lights, being an opportunist, and then putting in some effort of your own and some work and carrying it through and sustaining it. When you add to it the element of spirituality, then you add a dimension which adds a sweetness to it, an enrichment to it, and goes to the root of success, whereby all the other things will be successful by themselves. Seeing that ultimate perfection and richness is with anything in everything. If you want wealth, why don't you go to the source of the wealth, the source of abundance? Why don't you go to the headquarters? Why don't you go to the ruler of the universe? Not try and manipulate the elements. No doubt some success will occur, but it's harder work. Why not open up a floodgate of divine grace and see what happens? So with that, we leave it off. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Thank you.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you very much, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Good morning, Swami.
Guru Mahajan. Yeah.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Om